and welcome to our brand new show. It's called Common Royalty. It's everyday people doing some extraordinary things here in Northern Michigan. I'm Bill Freilich. This is Jessica Mason Freilich, Ms. Michigan State America. She is obviously the royalty.
And he is obviously the commoner.
Thank you for that. It's great. We wanted to launch this show, and really, I'll give you credit for this as an idea. We wanted to draw attention.
See how it goes first.
Okay, fair enough.
Then we'll assign credit or blame.
Fair.
I get credit, you get blame.
Perfect, perfect. We wanted to draw some attention to the nonprofits and charities in Northern Michigan and all the good work that they're doing.
Right. As part of my title, I go out into the community and work with charities, work with other volunteers, and my wonderful manager slash husband slash model is always out there with me, and we've noticed that there are a lot of unsung heroes in our own community. So we wanted to highlight the people who really make the most difference here in Traverse City.
This first episode really is you and me. We're going to be talking about what you do with your title, but then also we'll obviously get into some of those other nonprofits and groups from now moving forward in other shows. But as Ms. Michigan State, we should introduce you and talk about how and why you got involved in charities to begin with. But your title itself, I guess let's start there. That goes back to near the first of this year.
Absolutely. Let's build some street cred for us. We are experts on the volunteer community.
Yes.
Something. We'll make it up as we go. The list shall grow.
As we always do, yes.
That's right. So Ms. is ages 26 and over. It is any marital status, married, single, widowed, divorced, children or no children. Whereas the Miss title that most people are the most familiar with is usually ages 17 to 25, never married, no kids. So my division is the coolest one because in my division, we have business owners, doctors, lawyers, scientists, just incredible women. The caliber of people is unlike anything that I have seen in my other experience. So my title is Ms. Michigan State, and that is the state of Michigan, not just one particular college. It is actually every little person in the state of Michigan. And
there are two representatives from the state.
Yes, there are. So some states have more than one representative, and Michigan is fortunate enough to have two. So there is Ms. Michigan, Heidi Shear, whom I believe we should have on the show.
Oh, we should totally bring her up.
Totally make her make the drive. She is downstate in Detroit. And so we both represent Michigan together, and we will be competing together but against each other at the Ms. America pageant in September.
Now, explain to people watching, I guess, for lack of a better term, the legitimacy of the pageant. This isn't...
oh, it's legit.
This isn't a made-up thing.
Too legit to quit.
I can't believe you just did that.
How could I not?
This isn't just a made-up thing. This is real pageant. You've got roughly 50 women competing for Ms. America in Orange County, California in just a few weeks.
Yes, it is not in fact made up. Thank you for somewhat asking that.
I know the answer, but...
Yeah, so for more information, visit www.missamericapageant.com. You can see all of the contestants there. And so this competition is a nationwide competition. And the women competing were chosen through a very strict interview process. So we did not compete in a state-level pageant. We were, in fact, chosen based on photo, resume, essay, and an hour-long interview. So I actually started going for this title last fall, and I was not selected until the beginning of February. So it is an incredible honor. And for me personally, I had to fundraise my entrance fee into Ms. America. And the crowdsourcing that I was able to do, up till this point, I have had over 50 individual sponsors and donors. So I truly feel like I have been elected to my position, and I really feel like I have the backing of not only my community, but also people across the country who have backed me to compete.
There's, again, for those folks watching, there's question or concern about, why fundraise for this? Why do you seek out the money, as opposed to, why don't you just pay the entry fee yourself?
Sure, well, that's an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. And that is an option. Some contestants, I'm sure, are able to do that. This is not a paid position, and because we are a family of 6, as I'm sure you are well aware.
I've heard.
You've heard the rumors. No, rumors would be 7. Let's just stick with 6.
Oh, let's stick with the facts, man.
It's just the facts. So for us, we together decided that we were not going to take money away from our family to do this. And so we fundraised. We have been able to find sponsors here in Traverse City, business sponsors like GT Smile Center, CC's Jewelers, and also donors of $10 and $20 across the city and even back in our hometown, Denver, Colorado, to Florida, to New Orleans. It's been incredibly supportive. But again, because the position is not paid, in order to do as much as I can possibly do, I needed the support of my community.
The next logical question then comes, well, what do you need the money for?
Oh, excellent. I love your questions. It's almost like you do this for a living.
It's bizarre. Sometimes I wonder where it came from.
No cards even, really. So the money that we initially raised is for the entrance fee into the national pageant, which is every pageant. But then there are all of the behind-the-scenes fees. There's competition where the gowns, the athletic wear, which is one of the divisions in the pageant that we should talk about, all the jewelry, the shoes, all of that. But then there's also travel expenses to get us out to California, to stay somewhere, to feed our faces. But then there's also the in-town expenses. We have driven all across the state. We spend probably about 20 hours a week doing appearances. Would you say that's right?
It could be, on the busy week especially.
Yeah, well, some appearances are all day sometimes. But yeah, we do a lot of driving. We, so far, are only traveling around northern Michigan up to Alpenfest and Petoskey, Sheboygan. But the goal is to also travel down to more Detroit areas and, was it Lake?
Well, we've got Detroit, we've got Grand Rapids we want to get to, Holland we've talked about going to.
Oh, absolutely.
But all of those.
Chicago, we want to go over and see the Chicago girls. And so those travel expenses. And should I win Ms. America, it would be my job to represent the entire country. And part of that is representing the other contestants and what they represent. Right. All of these women are working as hard as I am, and they all have charities that they are championing and events that they are doing. And so should I win, there would be the added expense of being there for those other women. Yeah.
So aside from the obvious plug then, which is, anyone who wants to support you is great. You can find Ms. Michigan State America 2016 on Facebook or online and make a support that way. But really what we wanted to do was highlight the nonprofits that you've become involved with so far. And like you said, should you win, you want to represent everybody's pet projects and everybody's nonprofits.
Right.
But really, what was the first thing you got involved with then as Ms. Michigan State? And obviously that has now blossomed into several other nonprofits and charities.
It is a slippery slope, volunteering. Once you get in there and, first of all, see the need, there's just so much that needs to be done. But also once you realize how fulfilling it is, and I know that sounds cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. When you make a difference in an animal's life, in a child's life, when somebody tells you, you mattered to me, there's nothing better. That is my runner's high, Yeah. And I started with Cherryland Humane Society. I began volunteering cleaning out cages, and it is small work, but it is incredibly important because animals under stress need a non-offensive environment, and all smells stress animals out. So by doing something as small as cleaning their living environment, I was making a difference for those animals. And I just started doing more and more, and that's really what led me to want to do Ms. Michigan.
Well, it also helped, if I may say, it also helped you learn more about the community. You just moved here a year and a half ago. Right. So we were talking about, well, what can I get involved with? And I know obviously animals and kids are your two big issues, and obviously that relates to your platform. We can touch on that in a few minutes too. But you were asking me, all right, well, what else is out there besides Cherryland? So we got into Silver Muzzle Cottage. We talked about AC Paw, and
Right.
each of those you have also become involved with, even if, for one afternoon.
Right. And I highly recommend anybody who relocates to a new area, like I did to here, start volunteering. It is really hard to meet people as an adult. And when I moved here, I didn't know anybody. I didn't see people I knew. I didn't recognize anybody. Nobody came up and said hi. But once I started volunteering, it did lead to other things. It did lead to connections to other people and to other charities to work with. And we have gotten so involved with some of these charities that it is now weekly involvement, ongoing. We're fostering through ACPA the opportunities that have come from just walking through the door have been incredible.
One of the launching points for a lot of this was a little-known organization called Spark, Spark in the Dark, and we'll have Abby on in a couple of shows, or as soon as we can get her in here, to talk specifically about what she does. But Cliff's Notes version, tell us what Spark is and really how that got you to A, know a lot of people, and B, really expand what you're doing in the volunteer community.
So Spark in the Dark connects people who want to volunteer with opportunities to volunteer. They also organize crafting projects that benefit other charities. So there were weekly crafting projects, and so again, it connected me to people who are like-minded, people who want to give back, and I'm a big proponent of giving what you got, giving of yourself. And these people could come and craft and help out in that way. And I have dance to give. I'm a dance instructor. So through Spark, I made the connections at the Salvation Army and started a free community dance team for girls who would not otherwise have access to dance. And that is called the All-American Stars Dance Team. We will have those girls on another show.
What was so cool about that experience, for me at least, was when you started the All-American Stars, we didn't know if you'd have 3 or 4 girls show up, what kind of a turnout there would be, who would be interested in dance, much less, who would make a commitment to come every Friday night.
Right.
And we had nearly 40 girls on that first Friday night.
Yes, it was incredible. The response, it was just validation that it was a need. It was a need that needed to be filled. There are so many girls who want to participate in dance, especially dance team. Some dance classes are affordable. Dance team is hundreds of dollars. Uniforms are so expensive, and it is out of the reach of many families. And this team is 100% free. I donate my time. The Salvation Army donates the practice space, and through fundraising and we're working on corporate sponsors, the uniforms are entirely free.
And this is not designed by any stretch to pull away customers or clients from any of the existing businesses, because as a dance studio owner yourself, you know how important that is. But really, like you said, these are kids who were more than likely sitting at home on Friday night, and in most cases probably weren't able to afford to go to class every week.
Well, the truth is, I mean, as a studio owner, when somebody really wants to dance, one hour a week is not enough. So if there are girls, and there are girls on my team who then go take studio class because they can. The girls who only do my class, they only do my class because that's what they can do. And these girls are talented, and they're kind, and they're sweet. And another thing that I have found with volunteerism is that when you give something to somebody, they treasure it. And when you volunteer time, people treasure you. And that's why it's so effective in building communities. That's why it's so effective in creating these dancers with this moral compass and this strong character, because they are being given a gift, and they show their appreciation by being on time, by listening, by practicing at home. All of these things that as a studio owner, it was hit or miss. And all of these girls come in with just the most wonderful attitude, doing car washes. These girls were literally scrubbing cars to raise money for their uniforms because they love the team. They genuinely believe in the camaraderie. They believe in standing on their own 2 feet and making this happen for themselves. And they do. They are.
Tell us about the importance of mom and or dad in each of those cases too, because again, if not for mom or dad driving the kids to the car wash or driving the kids to practice, they'd be sitting at home. So it really is a family affair to help build that character in these kids and say this is important because.
Well, and parents, my STARS parents, they give of themselves. They are not just writing a check and dropping their kid off at the door like most parents do at a studio. It's just how it's done.
Right.
But at
Not
STARS,
that that's a bad thing, but yeah.
No, and they come to recitals, and it's a different dynamic.
Right.
But the way that this works, parents have to come in. We do a little meeting at the beginning. Parents have to come to the fundraisers. They have to promote the fundraisers. We did a blood drive fundraiser. The parents donated. They're literally paying in blood.
Yeah.
But these parents are not only supportive, they are involved. They were also scrubbing cars. They are backing their kids in this endeavor. And the truth is, even writing a check and dropping it at the door, dance parents are involved parents. They just are. That's why there's a show called Dance Moms. Dance parents have to be involved. And when you have a team, especially when you have a team that practices in the evening, that has fundraisers, the support of the family is incredible. And also, a lot of families in transition, post-divorce, post-illness, that's who is in need of a free team. And having the consistency of dance is something that really helps the kid through the time of transition, but it also allows the parents to interact in a way that is non-combative, not even necessarily seeing each other, but working together for the sake of the kids. So I've always believed in putting kids in dance, keeping kids in dance to see them through difficult times.
The volunteering has also opened the door for you and me, honestly, to make a lot of new friends, especially through Spark, and then now obviously through the STARS team, meeting a lot of great people.
Yes, and in this town, we both came from Colorado, where it was a smaller town, not a huge city, but they were all smushed next to each other. So I never felt a sense of community. I knew the people on either side of me, but I never went to parades on a main street. You know, you don't see the same people because people are in and out of the community. But in Traverse City, it is the same people in the same context, that you see people giving back, that you see people being supportive of causes, that you see people at parades. And the sense of community here is what has allowed me to be so successful with this title. I mean, completely. I don't think I could have done what I've done thus far anywhere else.
Well, we'll get more into STARS and some of the things they've done and events that they've been to. People may have seen them in the parade, Cherry Festival parade recently, walking alongside you. But let's talk, too, before we run out of time, about some of just the other things that you've done and some of the other volunteer efforts that you're hoping to do. And obviously, we want to bring some of those folks into this program, too. But, you know, most recently, Alpenfest.
Yes.
Those are just some of the fun things you get to do that are not necessarily volunteer driven.
Absolutely. So there are a whole grouping of other appearances that I do that are supporting the community, not so much nonprofit driven, and that would be like Alpenfest. So Alpenfest is this great German festival up in Gaylord, and I'm now a Freilich, so you know it's an obligation. So there you go. I attend the pageant. I judge the ugly dog contest, which is miserable to judge. They're adorable dogs.
Because they're all too cute to be ugly.
Well, and of course, Miss Congeniality is the one who pooped, because why not?
Right.
But other than that, how do you choose?
We're talking the dogs still, by the way.
Yes.
Just making sure that was clear.
Great image, though. That's great. Getting involved with those things, and the Kingsley Heritage Parade, the Cherry Royale Parade, which I do all parades on foot and in heels, because girls can do anything, and they can do it in heels. The next parade I will be doing is the Charlevoix Venetian Festival, their street parade in heels.
And Harbor Days after that.
And then Harbor Days after that, yeah. So
you made it, you said, almost the entire way of the Cherry Festival parade without a blister.
I did. I didn't get a blister until the 1.5 mile mark. So the last half mile, I earned it. That was the longest parade, though. So I made it I made it past the end of the line, and I took the shoes off and held them up in the air, and I was past the people, so it was really just my own personal moment of celebration. But the crowd erupted in applause, and I have been now known for that moment. People come up to me and say that
They have said that, yeah.
yeah, and that just was a moment shared by all, and that was really cool. I would like to touch on my platform, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a platform is just the mission that drives you, and it's typically a pageant girl phrase. But a platform is the center of what your goal is, and mine is compassion over reaction. And it's teaching children to put themselves in other people's shoes before responding, to have that moment of thought before reacting. I think that we have such a knee-jerk culture right now that we all are sparking off differences rather than looking for commonalities. And by teaching kids to see these commonalities, that they are able to prevent bullying. Because this whole anti-bullying movement, unfortunately, the downside of it is that it's like the stranger danger movement of our day, that bullies are seen as somebody else. Like everybody sees this big bad bully, but what they don't understand is that they adopt bully behavior, that bullying is a behavior, it's not a person. And by separating the behavior out from the person, that kid is not demonized and then stuck in that cycle. And even the good kids can see that they sometimes have those behaviors as well.
Right.
And that's how you stop the behavior. You recognize it as a behavior and help kids stop it in themselves.
And that bullying is not necessarily a character trait. It may be more reflective of what happened at home this month or
Right.
this year.
Well, and what I use is bully breed dogs to illustrate the example, and that animals, like children, are reflective of their environment. That a grouchy dog, a grouchy kid could just be hungry, could just be tired, could have just gotten in a scuffle with the other dog or been yelled at home. And so really it's not about the target of the bullying behavior. And by seeing that, kids won't internalize it, that it's not about them, it's about the person who's having a bad day. And I think that's the problem with bullying, is that it gets under the skin and it becomes part of self-concept. Mm-hmm. So I really hope to change the way that anti-bullying is taught. I'd like to change the way that teachers teach it to their students and the way that kids see what bullying is.
Well, and you, I know, have done some speeches or appearances at schools to talk about this already.
Yes.
That's one of the volunteer things that you have done. Mm-hmm. We're hoping to get you involved with some of those anti-bullying programs.
Yes.
Because a lot of schools, I think, are doing it right, but there are lots of kids who still need to hear the message. And that's another fun thing about your title is, as you have said, the crown is a microphone. And if you can draw attention to what you're saying just by being where you are, maybe
right.
some of those kids will hear that message.
Absolutely. And I do want to say that any school who's doing anything about bullying is doing it right. I would like to add a layer to how they're presenting it. That I fully back educators who are working to end bullying. And I would like to change the language so that kids internalize the words and not the title. But yes, like you said, the crown being a microphone is something that I've always said, and the reason is I'm not really doing anything different right now as Ms. Michigan State America 2016 than I do as a normal human me. The difference is the crown. And when I say things, the attention that I get, the focus that I get, I'm aware of how much my words are landing. When I put the crown on, not only do people listen more and hang on the words, but more people are listening. The stage I'm on is bigger. And that is the power of the crown. It's not that it magically makes me a different person, but it does make my words heard and by more people.
Well, and I think that is why it is great that you go to schools,
yes.
Because kids can listen to their teacher all day, every day. Ms. Michigan State walks in and believe it or not, some of the kids are going to pay attention.
That's right. Well, you know,
whether
when
it's
your
the
own
6-year-old
kids-
girls or the 11-year-old boys, they're paying attention.
That is true, and you know that with our own kids, as with everybody's kids, they don't listen to you. They listen to strangers. And I think that you're right. Maybe hearing it from their teachers does have a little bit of the white noise effect, whereas from a crowd, they hear it more. I just think the more people telling them that they are good people, good humans, and that they have the ability to change their environment, the better.
I think anyone watching, because this goes, Manistee up to the bridge,
Cool.
we can get you on the list if people want to have you come to school.
That's right.
Anywhere in northern Michigan.
We are already
Just look
booking the fall schedule.
Yeah, look up Ms. Michigan State America 2016.
That's right.
Under Jessica Mason, that's how you're competing, so we can track you down that way. Let's, in the last couple of minutes, let's talk about the other guests that we're
great.
lining up and that we want to have, because as we said, this is going to be a show about the ordinary people in northern Michigan doing some of the extraordinary things with nonprofits and groups that we really want to draw more attention to. So we've already talked with some of the folks from Cherryland, Spark in the Dark,
Michigan Blood, AC Paw. So a lot of the people we are going to be bringing on are people that we have observed making a difference. But we'd also like to hear from our audience, and we'd like you to nominate people. And this isn't necessarily somebody that you saw on TV and, oh, it looks like they're doing something cool. It's the people that you see, that you are witness to them making a difference in the world around them. That's who we want to find. That's who we want to talk to and find out why they do it, what they're doing, and hopefully inspire more people to be like them.
The people that aren't getting the attention.
That's right, yeah, the unsung heroes. So to nominate somebody, please go to our Facebook page, Common Royalty TC.
Check it out and stay tuned for more episodes. It will be a lot of fun to spotlight some of the good things going on in northern Michigan. Cool.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Ms. Michigan State.
Well, thank you, Mr. Michigan State.
You're funny. I'm Bill Freilich. This is Jessica Mason Freilich, and we appreciate that you're watching. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on Common Royalty.